Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the NBA Front Office Show. We're going to talk a little bit about the coaching carousel, which is picking up speed right now around the NBA. Teams are starting to nab their coaches for the future. We're going to break it all down. But first, quick reminder, do subscribe right here to the NBA Front Office YouTube channel. And don't forget to turn on those notifications as well. We really appreciate all the support that we've gotten in this venture as we're just getting things started. So please make sure you do subscribe. Keith, we're seeing a lot of coaches finally land with different teams here. Teams are starting to fill those spots. What are your thoughts on what we're seeing so far?
Yeah, we first to fill was the Boston Celtics with Ime Udoka. We already did a whole conversation on that, so you can check that out on the other video if you're interested in the deep thoughts there. But the last two that we got news on, Rick Carlisle went to the Pacers, back to the
Yep.
Pacers. He was there once before, returning back to Indiana, and then his job was filled most recently with Jason Kidd, who was an assistant on your team, the LA Lakers, most recently, and they also we're not going to do a whole video on it, but the Mavs also are hiring Nico Harrison, who is an executive with Nike, to be their general manager. And that might seem like it's coming completely out of left field. It's not completely out of left field, maybe like just ahead of the bleachers or something like that. But it's yeah, that one is a little strange. But he's a guy who has great relationships with players. A lot of the stuff does carry over. It's a lot of contract stuff, a lot of recruiting guys, getting guys to sign up, be part of a team. So that's where that one's at. But yeah, Carlisle to the Pacers and Kidd to the Mavs. Those are the two we know for now. And then we'll get into the jobs that are still open and some of the news and reporting that's around those ones. But yeah, Carlisle to the Pacers. I don't mind it.
No.
I generally don't like the retread coaches,
Mm-hmm.
but this doesn't feel like a retread to me. He didn't get fired. He's been a good coach
Yeah.
for a very long time. So this one I feel like makes some sense for what the Pacers need. And I think they just need some stability and those kind of things. I'm very curious to see, as I've said multiple times, what direction their offseason takes. He doesn't have a Luka to build an offense around, but that's fine. He built an offense around Dirk Nowitzki before. So he does prefer to have a playmaking point guard. So maybe Malcolm Brogdon's asked to do a little bit more. So we'll see what that one looks like. But I think that one's all right for the Pacers. I think it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I mean, look, this is the easy one, right? Between Kidd and Carlisle, Carlisle is the easy one going to the Pacers. It's just a solid move. I mean, it's a very low risk move. You know what you're getting. He's a very, very good, very well respected NBA coach. And yeah, the Pacers said, "Thank you. We'll take him and move forward." I don't think there's really much debate here that this is a nice move for Indiana, and hopefully he does bring a bit of stability to the position.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the Kid one, that one's maybe a little stranger.
Yes.
It's not that Kid hasn't been mentioned. He's been linked to an awful lot of jobs the last couple of years, but and clearly Mark Cuban has a comfort level with him from his time there as a player twice, two different times he went through Dallas as a player. So that part of it I guess makes sense. But this is a guy who didn't exactly finish strong at either of his prior two head coaching jobs. He kind of had issues in Brooklyn and then left there very quickly for Milwaukee. That didn't go all that great, but hopefully he's learned some stuff as an assistant now under Frank Vogel and those kind of things, and he's more mature and ready to go and do his things in Dallas because it's clearly a pretty good job. You've got Luka Doncic, you've got a bunch of other talented players. They're another team that's very interesting with their offseason, what directions they could go with that. So yeah, this is one where I get it, but I am a little like I don't know that I love this as a hire. Like maybe I really love the Udoka hire,
Yeah.
and then the Carlisle one at least makes a lot of sense to me. I don't know that I love this hire of Jason Kidd for the Mavs.
Yeah, I don't think you can definitively say this is an upgrade. In fact, I think that most likely it's not because Rick Carlisle is a very, very good head coach now. But I do want to pump the brakes on the whole notion that this is just the worst thing ever. Off the court, I get it. And there's a big pushback there.
Yeah,
Understandable. I'm not arguing with that. What I am looking at, though, for Jason Kidd as a coach is we seem to have this idea with coaches that they're static, that a coach doesn't change over the years, that if a coach struggled a few seasons ago with their previous team, that they're going to have the same issues with wherever they're at years down the road. But that's not true. Coaches change, coaches grow, coaches develop, just like players do out on the floor. And
yeah,
Kidd just spent the last 2 years in an offense and defense that schemed around LeBron James. Who's the closest comp to LeBron James in the NBA right now? It's probably Luka. And so I think you can make an argument for why this does make a little bit of sense for the Mavs, at least on the floor. But overall, I agree. I get the pushback to it. I understand why Mavs fans will be a little bit concerned right now. And this is a very, very big decision for the Mavs because they have to get this right. Yes, Luka's going to sign that extension, but after that, the clock starts ticking. So if you got this one wrong, you could be in trouble a few years from now by the time you find out that you got it wrong. So the Mavs, they're going all in here on Jason Kidd, but I'm going to withhold judgment here, wait and see exactly how this all plays out. I hope he finds success, but I understand the skepticism too.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you mentioned, the off the court stuff and some of the things that have gone on with that
Yes,
organization
that's a concern.
recently, that's not the best look in the world. So, presumably they've had that conversation. They're ready to handle that, ready to talk through it with whatever they're going to do. Meanwhile, 4 jobs still open. We've got 3 of them. We've got some reporting on. Sounds like maybe they're getting close and knocking it down. And one of them we haven't heard much on at all. So we'll start with the 3 we know some stuff about. The Portland Trailblazers. Sounds like Chauncey Billups and Becky Hammon getting close there. There's some reporting out there that Jody Allen, who is the Trailblazers owner or governor, she took over after her father died. I think she's running the trust there for the team at least. She prefers Becky Hammon. Sounds like maybe Neil O'Shea prefers Chauncey Billups. So we'll see, what direction that ultimately goes in there. And who knows, maybe that's not the case at all. Maybe that's just some speculation or something. Then on the Wizards front, Washington Wizards, Sam Cassell and Wes Unseld Jr. Wes Unseld Jr.'s dad was with the Wizards for quite a long time. Wes Unseld. Unseld, the younger, the one who's up for the job, he has been a hot assistant coach, kind of like Ime Udoka, kind of like Sam Cassell is himself for a number of years now, where it's just been a matter of time. I think like Steven Silas, who got the Rockets job last year, was one of those guys for a long time. So two good names for the Wizards there. A couple guys who could carry a little bit of respect, and then the New Orleans Pelicans sound like they're honing in on Jacques Vaughn. So we'll see what happens. And then the one team we don't know anything about, the Orlando Magic. They're not saying a whole heck of a lot. That doesn't surprise me. Jeff Weltman generally tries to keep things relatively quiet, really working in-house. And they're, of all these teams on this list, they're in the most different of a place. All these other teams are looking at being playoff teams again, were playoff teams, looking to take the next step forward, whatever the case may be, where the Magic are very clearly kicking off a rebuild. So I don't know what your thoughts are on any of those openings and where you think they're going to go. But, it sounds like we're getting close on a few, and then we'll see what the Magic do.
Well, I think it's going to be interesting. Like you said, there is a key differentiator here between these 4 teams. You've got 3 of them that are seeing themselves as playoff teams, maybe not quite contenders, but teams that should be in the playoffs. And so there's going to be that pressure on whoever steps into those coaching roles. And so I think you're looking for a bit more of a seasoned coach. You're looking for somebody that can kind of get you over the hump there in those spots. But then for the Orlando Magic, that's not necessarily your concern. Your concern is, do we have somebody who can develop our roster? And so you're looking for very, very different things there. So for the 3 spots that we've talked about here, the Blazers, the Wizards, the Pelicans, those teams, I'm looking for somebody that's got at least a decent amount of experience under their belt, somebody that has done this before, somebody that has taken a team, or even as an assistant coach, that has taken a team to successful levels. And then for the Magic, you just want somebody that has fostered growth among young players. And that doesn't necessarily mean a team that has contended. So I think it's going to be interesting to see the pool of candidates, because we tend to look at the coaching candidate pool as one big pool. It's really a couple of different sub pools, right?
Absolutely.
Like you've got a pool and then maybe you've got a jacuzzi or something like that off to the side. And so that's something to consider here when we're looking at who these guys are going after. Becky Hammon to the Blazers. That would obviously be historic. I mean, that in and of itself would be a pretty cool story. But of course, Chauncey Billups has also been one of those guys that's been tabbed as a head coach for what feels like a while now.
Yeah, the Billups one is interesting because for a while they kind of I don't want to say it was a knock on him, but the thought process out there was he needs to decide, does he want to be in the front office or does he want to be on the bench? Because we heard that he was maybe interested in running a team versus being on the bench, and those are, for vast majority of teams, two very very different jobs. I think all teams now are basically in that boat. So that becomes a little interesting. But yeah, Becky Hammon, that I want to see her land with a team like Portland where they're a little bit more ready to win. Because I don't here's why. Let me use the Magic job as a good example
Yeah.
here. I don't think she'd be necessarily a fair run in a team like with a team like Orlando, because I think what happens is that team's not going to win for at least a couple years, and I don't want to see people put that on. See,
Yes.
a
Right.
woman can't be a head coach, because that's not. That's got nothing to do with anything. That team's not designed
No.
to win, probably for a couple more years. So I would like to see it be. She's already going to have enough hurdles to overcome. It's going to be challenging enough. I don't want to see being on a purposely bad team, putting that even further on her. I want her to be in a place where she can be successful in her first head coaching job out of the gate. Same if it ends up being Kara Lawson. We've heard about Teresa Weatherspoon. She was linked to the Pelicans job as well. Any one of them, I want them to be in a place where they're set up for success, just so people don't have that extra, silliness to throw out there for why it doesn't work. But yeah, I think all these coaches are good coaches. I think we're getting close on all of them. It's gonna, if not this year, we're probably next year is when it will happen here, and then we're there, and then we may get one more in here. We'll see what happens to the Milwaukee
Yeah.
Bucks against the Atlanta Hawks in this Eastern Conference Finals. It's as we're recording this, it's the afternoon before Game 2. So the Bucks got some work to do to make up for that Game 1 loss. But yeah, if they lose, especially if they lose in kind of embarrassing
Yeah.
fashion, he may not have done enough to save his job just by beating the Nets.
Yeah, we all thought that, okay, if and when the Bucks lose to the Nets, that's going to be it for Mike Budenholzer. But now, when we're looking at this situation, if they lose to the Hawks and they lose in say 4 or 5, like if that happens, I'm not expecting that to happen, but if it does, he's right back on the hot seat. So going to be some tense times in Milwaukee as well. Keith, any final thoughts on the coaching carousel before we call it a day here?
No, well, I guess I do have one
Okay.
final thing. I would expect probably within the next week and a half is when we're going to start to really see these things fill out. You'll only be down to the finals teams within the next week and a half or so. And then teams are going to want to have somebody in place at least a couple weeks before the draft just to kind of be part of that whole process. But that's where I think, other than maybe the Bucks, that one could stretch if that job does open up. But we'll see how that comes together. But yeah, I think we're getting close now. Once you're down to hearing names for second times in places, we're real
Those
close.
announcements are certainly going to be coming. All right, everybody, let us know in the comments down below what coaches you like for all of these vacancies, and give us your thoughts on Jason Kidd to the Mavs. I'm sure there's going to be some comments on that, as well as Rick Carlisle to the Pacers. Fire it off in the comment section down below. Don't forget, subscribe right here to the NBA Front Office YouTube channel, and make sure you ring the notification bell as well. Until next time, stay safe and see ya.